Hi, my name is Tycen Sigler. I'm a clinical social worker for Family Solutions Counseling. Today I'd like to talk about mindfulness. Mindfulness is a technique that is used to treat anxiety and depression and has been found to be quite effective. It's not a new treatment, it's just new to our society and culture. So what it is, mindfulness is present moment attention without judgment. Just observing our life for what it is without attaching any type of judgment. It's almost like taking a step back. An example of this might be when you're sitting in a movie theater and you're watching something and the character in the movie is underwater and you find yourself holding your breath, and then you think, oh, I'm not even in this movie. I don't need to be holding my breath, and you take a big sigh of relief, right? And so I think in our life sometimes we get so caught up in it that what mindfulness does is it gives us a chance to take a step back and just observe what's going on in our life and be able to kind of take that breath, let go of some of that anxiety and some of that depression. Some more examples of it are just taking a moment to breathe and thinking about breathing. Now what inevitably is going to happen is your brain is going to go, okay, breathing, got it, ready to move on, right? Because that's the fast-paced culture that we live in. Instead, you just bring your focus back. You say, no, what does it feel like to breathe? What does it feel like to have the air passing in and out of my lungs? What is my shoulders doing while I'm breathing, right? And inevitably, your mind is going to wander while you're trying to focus. It'll wander on something else. And when you notice you're wandering, you'll just bring it back to your breathing again. And then your mind's going to wander in another direction, and then you bring it back. And each time you bring it back, you're getting better and better, and you're developing a skill of mindfulness. The more mindful you get, the better the technique, or the more effective, the technique would be in treating depression, anxiety, OCD, things like that. Some practical examples of things that I like to do for mindfulness is I do it during the dishes because I absolutely hate doing the dishes. So while I'm doing the dishes, I'll use my 5 senses to kind of ground myself and to make it a mindful experience. So the first thing I'll do is I'll think about everything that I can smell while I'm doing the dishes, and I'll spend as long as I can just thinking about the smells. And when my mind wanders, I just bring it back, right? Then I'll go through everything I can touch. What does it feel like to have the water running over the plates in my hands and the scrub brush as it, takes the food off the plates? Then I'll think about taste. Can you taste doing the dishes? Does it taste different when you're doing that? And then I'll listen to the sound, the sound of the dishes clanking against the silverware and the cups and the water sloshing through things. And then the last one I'll do is sight. What can you see? The colors and the water as it's rushing over things. And taking a moment to use your senses will ground you and will relieve you of depressive symptoms and anxious symptoms, right? So some of the benefits from using mindfulness as a technique are reducing ruminating thoughts, those thoughts that you just dwell on, those obsessive thoughts. It's used effectively in treatment for OCD, for anxiety, depression, and also addiction recovery. It increases focus, memory, emotional control. There's really a lot of benefits. That's just to name a few, but we're finding that it's very effective as a technique. But I'm also finding that you can take it one step farther than that. I think mindfulness is more a way of life than a technique to be used. For example, look at children and dogs. They have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, and they don't remember what happened yesterday. They just live moment to moment, and they're completely happy. Now one might argue, yeah, but there's somebody taking care of them, right? And that's a great point. I think it's important for us to learn from our past and apply that into our present moments, and it's also important to plan ahead for our future. I just don't think we should live in either. I think we should be living in the present moment. Because if we're living in our past is filled with guilt, shame, regret. Hopefully not completely, but at least there's elements of that, and those things are depressing. They make us feel depressed, and if we dwell on that past and we're constantly living there, depression is going to infiltrate our lives, and it's going to dominate the way we think about the world. Now, if we're living in the future, right, and we're projecting out, it fills our life with fear and worry and uncertainty, and that causes anxiety, right, because we're just not sure what's going to happen. And that can be devastating because it makes us not even want to try for fear of failure, which is ironic because by not trying, you are guaranteeing failure, the very thing you're afraid of, right? But if we can learn from our past, apply those lessons into today, and if we can plan ahead for our future, we can still make those plans, we can take care of ourselves, make sure you go to work, plan ahead for things, but everything happens in the present moment, right? So if I'm worried about a test that I have to take in school in 2 weeks, okay, well, in the present moment, I need to study. Let that anxiety or fear of worry of something in the future push me to take action now in the present moment. I think if we can learn to just be present and live life day to day and just be wherever we are, we'll find that our happiness increases, our stress goes down, and we just feel better. So some examples might be, when you're at home with your kids, be at home with your kids. Take advantage of that time. When you're at work and you're sitting in that staff meeting that you really don't want to be in, be present in the staff meeting. It'll make you a more effective employee, and you'll probably be paying attention better, right? But wherever you're at, when you're driving, be present when you're driving. You'll be a better driver. Less accidents will happen. The point I really want to get across today is that mindfulness as a technique is fantastic and should be implemented as often as possible, a skill that needs to be developed. But I think if we can change your mentality about life, of living more in the present, I think we'll find even more success and greater happiness and just peace in our life in a world that's really fast-paced and crazy. Thank you.